On her wedding day, her groom forced her to hand over her wedding dress to the bridesmaid he was secretly obsessed with. What he didn't know was that the nobody wife he humiliated secretly owned the billion-dollar Vastoria Group. Today, watch how Aria Lane destroys Damon Reed's entire family in one unforgettable night. For 7 long years, Aria Lane believed she had found her forever. 7 years of building a life with Damon Reed, piece by fragile piece, holding on to every promise he ever made her. She wasn't rich, she wasn't powerful, not in his eyes, but she loved with a depth that could drown a weaker heart. She believed in him when he had nothing. She supported him when the world ignored him. And she stood beside him when even his own family whispered doubts about the woman he chose. People say 7 years changes a person. For Aria, it didn't change her love. It just deepened her hope. For Damon, it sharpened his ambition and dimmed his gratitude. But Aria didn't see that yet. She only saw the boy she fell in love with, not the man he was slowly becoming. One night, during one of Damon's lowest moments, broken and scared he would fail, Aria made him a promise. A quiet, unconditional vow spoken from a loyal heart. "I'll forgive you 3 times, no matter what happens, no matter what you become. I'll give you 3 chances." Damon swore he would never need them. But life writes in ways love cannot predict. The first chance was lost on the day that was supposed to be the most beautiful chapter of her life, her wedding day. The day Aria dreamed of since she was a girl. The day she thought would prove that all their struggles, sacrifices and storms were worth it. Instead, it became the day she learned what her heart had chosen. Aria's dress, hand-sewn, paid for with her own savings, a symbol of her commitment, was taken from her. Not stolen by a stranger, but snatched away by the one person Damon had sworn was just a friend. The bridesmaid, Cara Voss. The girl who always hovered too close. The girl Damon defended too quickly. The girl who wore confidence like perfume and jealousy like lipstick. That was the first crack, the first betrayal. The first of the 3 chances shattered without hesitation. The wedding morning should have been quiet, warm, and filled with the soft glow of happiness. Instead, Aria Lane walked into a moment she would replay in her mind for years, not because it was beautiful, but because it shattered something inside her. She pushed open the dressing room door, expecting to see her gown waiting for her. The gown she saved for, the gown she designed stitch by stitch, a symbol of her devotion after 7 years of standing by Damon's side. But the room wasn't empty. Cara Voss stood in the center, twirling in Aria's wedding dress. Cara wasn't shy about it. She didn't panic. She didn't apologize. She simply smirked at her reflection and adjusted the veil as if this day belonged to her. "Do you like it?" Cara asked sweetly, turning with a slow, deliberate spin. "It just fits me better." Aria's breath caught in her throat. For a moment she thought it was a joke, a cruel, tasteless joke. But Cara's eyes held no guilt, only triumph. Then Damon walked in. Aria turned to him, shaking. "Damon, that's my dress. Why is she wearing—" But Damon didn't look at Aria. His gaze lingered on Cara as though she were the bride. "Cara just wanted to try it," he said sharply. "Don't start drama today." Aria blinked. "Try it? Damon, that dress is mine. She has no right to—" Cara cut in with a pout. "I told you she'd overreact. You know how sensitive she gets." Aria, stop overreacting, he said coldly. It's just a dress. If you make a scene today, you'll embarrass me in front of my investors. And Damon stepped toward Kara, protective, gentle, the way Aria always wanted him to be with her. Aria, listen, he snapped. This day is too important for your emotions. If you weren't good for my image, I'd never marry someone like you. The words hit her harder than any slap could. Kara hid a victorious smirk behind delicate fingers. Aria felt her chest tighten, but she swallowed it, forcing steadiness into her voice. Damon, this is our wedding. And I'm trying to keep it from turning into a disaster, he shot back. Don't make me regret proposing. He didn't ask Kara to take the dress off. He didn't look at Aria with an ounce of love. He just stood there, between his fiancée and the woman who wanted to replace her. And in that moment, Aria understood the truth. Kara wasn't wearing the dress by accident. She wore it because Damon let her. It was the first betrayal, and she still walked down the aisle with a broken heart he didn't even notice. What Damon never realized, not in 7 years, not on their wedding day, not even in his most desperate moments, was that Aria Lane was not the fragile, ordinary woman he believed she was. Behind her soft voice and quiet loyalty lived a secret the entire city whispered about, but no one could trace back to her. Aria was the hidden founder of Vastoria Group, the billion-dollar empire investors feared, the company Damon worshipped, the mysterious powerhouse rumored to have saved multiple corporations from collapse. It was Aria. It had always been Aria. But she never said a word. While Damon chased status, Aria built it. While he begged for investors, she quietly funded his company from the shadows. While he believed she was lucky to marry him, he had no idea he was standing on the foundation she created. She wanted to tell him. She tried to tell him. A week before the wedding, she rehearsed the words 100 times. Damon, there's something you should know about me, about Vastoria. She imagined the relief on his face, the pride, the understanding. But every time she opened her mouth, Damon dismissed her with a wave of his hand. Not now, Aria. I'm busy. Later. This IPO is more important. Stop interrupting me. On the morning of their wedding, standing in her ruined dressing room, dress stolen, heart bruised, she tried one last time. Damon, there's something about me you need to know. He didn't even look at her. Aria, please, don't start. And just like that, her truth, her power, her identity was silenced yet again. She wanted her husband to know who she truly was. He never cared enough to hear her. And this ignorance, this arrogance, would become the mistake that destroys him. The wedding should have been a fresh beginning, a new chapter, a place where love finally settled into warmth after years of endurance. But for Aria Lane, marriage to Damon Reed became the second crack in a heart already struggling to hold itself together. It began with something small, something symbolic, something sacred. One morning, barely a week after the ceremony, Aria woke up to Damon pacing the living room, slamming drawers, cursing under his breath. She rushed in, half asleep, still in her robe, to find him throwing cushions across the room like a frustrated child. Damon, what's wrong? He didn't even look at her. He just snapped. Where did you put it? My wedding ring. It's gone. Aria blinked in confusion. Gone? Damon, you took it off last night before your shower. You left it. Don't blame me for your carelessness, he growled. You should have kept it safe. Her heart stung. She searched the apartment for hours, replaying every moment from the night before. But Damon didn't search with her. He didn't comfort her. He didn't even bother pretending. Because to him, it wasn't about the ring. It was about the inconvenience. He folded his arms and watched her crawl on her knees across the carpet, digging through corners and tiny gaps in the sofa. At one point, she reached for his hand, hoping for reassurance. He pulled it away. "You know," he said coldly, "I shouldn't expect much. You struggled to plan the wedding. Losing things is nothing new for you." Those words sliced deeper than she expected, and when they still couldn't find the ring, he rolled his eyes and muttered, "Just buy another one if it means that much to you. Don't bother me with this again." The ring wasn't lost, but the way he treated her that day, that's when she realized something far more precious was disappearing. Day by day, Aria watched the man she married turn into someone she barely recognized. Damon became consumed, not with their new life together, but with the IPO he believed would make him a king. His laptop became his second spouse, his phone, his mistress, his company, his addiction. Whenever Aria tried to talk to him about dinner, about plans, about anything, he waved her off. "Later, Aria. Not now, Aria. Can't you see I'm working?" She could be standing right in front of him, and he talked to her like she was a buzzing fly interrupting his grand plan. Love wasn't part of his schedule, but IPO meetings were. Kara's calls were. His mother's opinions? Always welcome. Aria's feelings? Never relevant. Slowly, painfully, she realized she didn't have a husband. She had a man who saw her as a distraction. If Damon's coldness bruised her heart, Mrs. Helena Reed's cruelty crushed it. Helena treated Aria like she purchased her on clearance. Every visit came with a new insult, a new wound. "You're lucky my son married you at all. Women like you should be grateful, not demanding. You think you deserve his lifestyle? Please." She said these things casually, almost playfully, as if cruelty were a hobby she enjoyed. And Damon? He never defended her. Not once. He would sit silently, pretending not to hear, or worse, agree with a nod. To Helena, Aria wasn't a daughter-in-law. She was an inconvenience her son had foolishly brought home. But the deepest cut was Kara Voss, still hovering, still smiling, still wearing perfume that lingered in their home long after she left. Kara didn't need permission to enter their space. She came and went freely, dropping off documents for Damon, delivering food because he was stressed, staying late to help him prepare for investor meetings. Sometimes Aria found Kara's earrings on the counter, or her lipstick in Damon's car, or her laughter echoing from Damon's office before Aria knocked. When Aria voiced her discomfort, Damon sighed like she was exhausting. "She's helping me. Stop being dramatic. Kara understands business. You don't. Don't embarrass me with your jealousy." Kara wasn't a visitor. She was the ghost in their marriage, ever present, ever smirking, ever waiting. And Damon let her stay. Aria had given Damon 2 chances. He had shattered both effortlessly. But the third betrayal? That one would break the last piece of her heart and change her destiny forever. It happened on a night that should have been ordinary. A quiet evening. A moment of stillness Aria desperately needed after weeks of being ignored, dismissed, and pushed aside. She had gone to the study to pick up a small box of mementos, things Damon no longer cared about but she still held close to her heart. A picture of them from their early years, the dried rose he once gave her, a scribbled note he wrote when he still loved her. But fate had a cruel way of showing truth. A spark from faulty wiring. Wiring Damon had promised he would fix when he had time, caught onto a stack of papers resting near the curtains. Within seconds, flames climbed the walls like hungry beasts. Aria panicked. Smoke swallowed the room. The doorway collapsed under heat. Her lungs burned before the fire touched her. She screamed Damon's name. "Damon! Damon, help!" Footsteps thundered down the hall. For a split second, she believed love would save her. But the first face she saw wasn't Damon's. It was Mrs. Helena Reed, and the hatred in her eyes was far colder than the flames around them. She grabbed Damon's arm as he rushed toward the room. Her voice was poison. "Let her burn. She's nothing to us." Aria froze, not from heat, but from heartbreak. Damon looked at his mother, then at Aria, then at the fire. And in that hesitation, in that tiny, fatal moment, Aria saw the truth. He wasn't deciding between life and death. He was deciding between her and his mother. And she lost. Damon stepped back. Mrs. Reed held his arm like she owned him, and he let her. "Damon!" Aria sobbed, choking on smoke. "Please!" His face twisted, not with love, not with fear, but with guilt and confusion. Then he said it, words that would haunt her forever. I can't." Aria's knees buckled as flames closed in. This was it. This was how 7 years ended. Not with love, but with abandonment. Just as her vision blurred and heat scorched her skin, someone crashed through the smoke-filled doorway. Strong hands wrapped around her, pulling her back from the brink. Aria coughed, barely conscious, but she recognized the voice instantly. "Aria, stay with me. I've got you." Luca Hartman, her ex, her first love. The man who left to build an empire and protect her from the chaos of his world, only to return and find her trapped in another. He carried her out of the burning room as Damon finally found the courage to move, but it was too late. Luca had done what Damon refused to do. Outside in the cold night air, Aria blinked through tears and smoke as Luca held her steady. "Why were you in there alone?" he whispered, his voice breaking. Because she always was. Because Damon never came when she needed him. Because she had spent 7 years loving a man who wouldn't risk a step for her. Fire trucks arrived, neighbors stared, and Mrs. Reed clutched Damon's arm and hissed, "She's fine, don't create drama. This will ruin your reputation." Luca's jaw tightened. Damon said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Aria watched the flames eat their house, their memories, their vows. But the real fire was the one inside her chest. The burning realization that the man she married would rather save his image than her life. The next morning, Aria didn't scream. She didn't fight. Her silence was stronger than any words she could have spoken. She walked into Damon's office with the divorce papers in her hand. Damon looked up, expecting an apology, expecting her forgiveness, expecting her to return like she always did. But Aria placed the papers on the desk with steady hands. "I'm done," she said quietly. Damon's face drained of color. "Aria, don't be ridiculous. I just froze. You know I didn't mean..." She stepped back. "You didn't choose wrong, Damon. You chose exactly who you always were." He reached for her. She stepped away. Luca waited for her outside, standing silently by his car. Not forcing, not pushing, simply being there. For the first time in 7 years, someone showed up for her, and Aria Lane walked away from the ashes of her marriage, straight toward the beginning of her rebirth. The night of the signing banquet shimmered with gold, crystal chandeliers, velvet carpets, and a symphony of wealthy elites buzzing with anticipation. This was Damon Reed's moment, his victory. The night he believed he would rise above every competitor, every critic, every shadow of insecurity he ever carried. Because tonight, Vastoria Group was expected to announce a $500 million investment into his company. To Damon, this wasn't just money. It was status, power, validation. He strutted through the hall like he owned it, shaking hands with men he once begged to notice him. Mrs. Helena Reed floated behind him with pride dripping from her voice. Cara Voss clung to his arm as if she were already the wife. Damon had become untouchable, at least in his own mind. He didn't know how close his entire kingdom was to collapsing. Aria Lane walked into the banquet quietly, without makeup, without jewels, without the mask she used to wear to hide her pain. She came not to fight, not to beg, not even to confront. She came for closure, to finally see Damon as he truly was. But Cara and Helena saw her first. Like vultures spotting prey, they swooped in with vicious delight. "Oh, look," Cara sneered loud enough for guests to hear. "The charity case has arrived." Helena snorted. "Did you walk here, dear? Because clearly you can't afford a car dressed like that." Before Aria could even respond, Cara grabbed her wrist and yanked her toward the center of the hall. Her voice rose above the music. "Everyone, look who wandered in. Damon's ex-wife, the one who nearly burned the house down." Laughter rippled through the room. Aria stiffened. Eyes followed her like she was something dragged off the street. Then Helena reached into her purse, pulled out a stack of money, and tossed it at Aria's feet. "Here," she said wickedly, "for a shower. You brought the smell of poverty with you." A few guests gasped. Others snickered. Phones rose. Recordings began. Aria's cheeks burned, but not from shame, from heartbreak, from the final confirmation that these people had never seen her as human. Damon finally turned, arms crossed, jaw tight, not with anger at his mother or Cara, but at Aria. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. "You're going to ruin everything." Aria met his gaze silently. Damon snapped his fingers at security. "Get her out, now." The guards stepped forward. Aria took a breath, and the world spun again, not because she was weak, but because someone grabbed her arm gently and stepped in front of her. Luca Hartman, her ex. The man who saved her life. The CEO who disappeared years ago with a promise to return when he was worthy of her. He now stood between Aria and security like an unmovable wall. The crowd burst into laughter. A businessman scoffed. "Isn't that the security guard who pulled her out during the fire?" Another snickered. "Poor thing. She couldn't get a real date, so she brought hired help." Helena let out a mocking laugh. "Aria, sweetheart, don't tell me this is the man you ran to after my son left you." Even Damon smirked. "Pathetic." Aria didn't speak. Luca didn't flinch. He simply tightened his hold on her arm, calm, certain. Then the doors opened. Silence fell. A man in a tailored suit entered with a leather portfolio under one arm. Secretary Miles. Everyone recognized him, Vastoria Group's senior liaison. He ignored Damon's outstretched hand, ignored Helena's smile, ignored every executive who tried to greet him. He walked straight toward Luca. Every step echoed like a warning. Then, in full view of every CEO, investor, and member of the elite crowd, he bowed his head slightly. "President Hartman," he said with crisp respect, "the Vastoria investment documents are ready. Your approval is all that remains." The entire hall froze. Breaths stopped. Eyes widened. Damon's confidence evaporated. Helena's smile shattered. Because in that single moment, the security guard everyone mocked revealed himself as the real power in the room. Luca Hartman, CEO of Hartman Industries, a man whose signature could destroy or elevate empires. And he had walked in, holding Aria's hand. The humiliation Kara, Helena, and Damon tried to inflict on Aria, it flipped, effortlessly, onto them. The night Damon expected to rise was the night his downfall began. Gasps rippled through the banquet hall like a sudden storm. The man everyone mocked moments ago, the security guard, the high school ex, was the real power behind the night. But the worst was yet to come. Damon swallowed hard and forced a laugh, trying to recover his image. "President Hartman, what a surprise. I didn't expect Vastoria to send you personally. Shall we proceed with the 500 million investment into Reed Global?" Secretary Miles finally looked at Damon with a pitying, almost disgusted kind of sympathy. "Mr. Reed," he said professionally, "I apologize for the misunderstanding." Miles opened the portfolio. Every page bore Vastoria's gold-stamped seal, but not Damon's company name. Not even close. The hall leaned in as Miles turned the contract around. It wasn't addressed to Reed Global at all. Instead, everyone read the name out loud. Hartman Industries. The room erupted. What? How is that possible? Why would Vastoria pick Hartman over Reed? But Damon bragged all week. Damon's face cracked. His lips trembled. No, there must be a mistake. Vastoria promised. Miles shook his head calmly. Vastoria Group is investing 500 million into Hartman Industries, not Reed Global. Damon staggered backward. Helena Reed gasped like someone had ripped the air from her lungs. Even Kara froze, panic flooding her eyes. Damon whispered, broken, "Why? Why him? Why not me?" Miles didn't answer, because the real answer was about to walk forward. The banquet doors opened again. Click, clack, click. A woman entered wearing a simple black dress, elegant, powerful, and impossibly calm. All the mocking, the laughter, the insults thrown at her just minutes ago had left no trace on her face. She walked as if she owned the ground beneath their feet. Because she did. Miles cleared his throat and announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, the founder of Vastoria Group, Miss Aria Lane." Silence exploded into chaos. No, that can't be. She's the founder. Her? That means Vastoria belongs to... Oh my God. Damon's knees buckled. If Luca hadn't grabbed his arm, he would have collapsed onto the floor. His mother screamed. Kara went pale. Aria stood in the center of the room, emotionless, but her eyes held the fire they tried to extinguish. She finally spoke. "Damon, you once told me if I wasn't good for your image, you'd never marry me." She paused. The room leaned closer. "Well, now you know the truth. You didn't just marry someone like me. You married the woman who kept your company alive. Gasps, whispers, shock. Damon opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The consequences came like an avalanche. Miles turned to Helena Reed. Mrs. Reed, Vastoria is terminating all previous support for Reed Global, effective immediately. Helena's face drained. No, please, Miss Lane. Aria, sweetheart, you can't. Aria looked at her with polite coldness. You told your son to let me burn. Helena dropped to her knees right there on the marble floor. Aria, please, save my son's company. I beg you.
We'll lose everything.
Aria didn't blink. You already did. Kara stumbled forward, her voice trembling.
Aria, listen. All that stuff earlier, I didn't mean it. We were just joking. Damon loves you. I was only trying to… Aria raised her hand. Kara fell silent immediately.
You tried to replace me on my wedding day, Aria said softly. You tormented me in my own home. You called me trash. Kara's knees buckled. The socialites whispered. She's finished. She'll never work again. No man in this room will touch her now. Kara collapsed, sobbing into her hands. Damon finally found his voice, broken, shaking.
Aria, please, listen to me. I was wrong. I didn't know. If I had known, I would have…
She cut him off sharply. That's exactly the problem, Damon. You only love what benefits you. He grabbed her wrist desperately. Give me another chance. We've been together 7 years. I can change.
Aria, please. I can't lose you.
His voice cracked. His pride shattered. He cried in front of the entire city. But Aria was no longer the woman he could break. She slowly removed his hand from her wrist. Aria looked at him with devastating calm. 7 years were your chance. It's over. The room fell silent. Damon crumbled to the floor. Helena wailed. Kara collapsed. Executives shook their heads in disgust. Aria turned away from all of them and walked toward Luca, who extended his hand. She took it without looking back, and as she left the hall, the empire she built rose behind her, and the man who betrayed her was left with nothing but ashes. The banquet hall remained frozen in shock, executives whispering, cameras rolling, every pair of eyes fixed on the woman they had mocked, insulted, and dismissed. Aria Lane stood at the front of the room, the glow of the chandeliers reflecting off her calm, unshaken expression. For the first time in 7 years, she felt light. She felt seen. She felt free. Luca Hartman, the man who saved her, the man who stood for her, the man who respected her, pulled out the final document. The partnership contract between Vastoria Group and Hartman Industries. A partnership worth $500 million. A future built on loyalty, not lies. Luca offered Aria the pen first. She didn't hesitate. She signed with steady hands. The same hands Damon once criticized as too soft. The same hands Helena once called unworthy. The same hands Kara tried to replace with her own. With that single stroke of ink, Aria Lane chose herself, her strength, her destiny, her rebirth. Luca signed beside her, sealing the alliance. The room erupted in respectful applause. The applause Aria never received as Damon's wife. The applause she earned as Vastoria's founder. As a woman who rose from betrayal to empire. She stepped away from the table, straightened her shoulders, and walked toward the exit. Luca walked with her, not in front of her, not pulling her, but beside her. Behind them, the aftermath unfolded like the final pages of a tragedy. Damon collapsed into a chair, realizing his empire was over before it began. Helena Reed sobbed into her trembling hands, the coldness she once used as a weapon now turned back on her. Cara Voss watched in horror as guests whispered, laughed, and pointed. Her reputation burned to the ground, just like she tried to burn Aria's dignity. Their downfall was complete. And Aria didn't even have to raise her voice. She didn't look back. Not once. The doors opened. She stepped into the night. Powerful, untouchable, finally free. Now let me ask you, after everything Aria went through, what was the moment you decided Damon didn't deserve her anymore? The dress? The fire? The public humiliation? Tell me in the comments. I'm reading every single one. If you want more stories where the wrong people get exposed and the right people rise, hit like, tap subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves a good revenge ending.